this show, baby.
All right, welcome to my expressionation lane. It's a sci-fi express lane where I'm going to express myself as a sci-fi writer, as a B-movie horror filmmaker, and a banging comic book creator. I have a couple of things I want to talk about, and I think I'll just save one for a video tomorrow after I figure out how to post this picture on my page. But what I really want to talk about, actually it's the same thing, this one, is kind of how to get over negative reviews as a creator. I watched my two brothers go down publicly to just medium success, right? I would say they probably would agree that it's not the best success, but it isn't the worst, okay? And mind you, those terms are all comparative terms. Best, worst, greatest, all of that. You have to know what you're comparing something to be able to say the greatest, to be able to say the worst, to be able to say the best, right? All of those are comparative. So who are you comparing yourself to, right? So I dedicate this to my man Bradley Golden, who's doing the horror comic book anthology, and I think he's got 15 days left. I'm going to try to post, or remember to post a link to his Kickstarter in my comments. But this is probably his first black dedicated project on Kickstarter. He's done 10, which is actually more than me, and that's something to celebrate in itself. But I think if I look at him, I'm just guessing, Bradley, don't kill me, but I think his previous projects were more mainstream in their appeal. Like, I make a distinction between black writers who write black characters and pro-black stories, and black writers who write white characters and mainstream stories. They're both black writers, no doubt. You got Kevin Grievous, who wrote Underworld, right? But he didn't even give himself a significant role in the trilogy, right? However, the black werewolf was in there, no doubt. But that's different than Ryan Coogler, who wrote Black Panther, who really didn't have more than one white person of any significance in probably both movies, right? So I think that's a different type of black writer. Next, my man Keith Wade. Keith Wade is Mr. Confidence, Mr. High performance dude. However, I think he's doing a comic book series. I'm trying to say it's like Afrofuturism, Afrofuturism Sword and Soul. Okay, so it's a futuristic mythology, and it's a really cool story. I actually don't know what type of link I can put up for Keith. I'm gonna ask him, and if he gives me a link, then I'll put it up. And I've enjoyed his series. I helped him with it. I actually helped lay out his coloring book. But I'll just say this. So this isn't about Keith or Bradley. It's about me too, right? Shout out to Marcus Roberts. You know, I'm gonna throw him in there too, because I know we've experienced these drops in emotion when you're a creator. You know, shout out to my boy Stanley Smith, who's a rap artist and a beat maker, right? And he's been doing this for 30 something years. I could put his age out there, probably 35 years as a teenager, right? But he's been dealing with how to deal with being an artist. And being an artist, one of the things you don't see is how artists deal with not success, right? So we don't want to say failure, because failure is actually stopping. So if you don't keep doing it, then you've lost, right? But while you're still working on it, still putting it out, you're succeeding in the fact that you're creating something, and let's keep it moving. So Of course, there's feedback, there's negative feedback, there's positive feedback. You've got to learn how to distinguish between the two. Not necessarily easy, but you have to, part of it is, you know, thinking, where does this feedback come from? Who is this person? Do they know me? What is their ideology, right? Is it the person that loves me? Is it the person that hates me? Or the person that really doesn't know me? You know, honest feedback is really cool, but then there's also a space for people who love you and support you. Don't deny that, you know. And then there's haters, right? I have a friend who really doesn't understand that he's a hater. And he went on there and just like, Gold Digger Killer is a horrible movie. The acting was bad. They didn't have a budget. And I was like, you do know I'm aware of all of those things in terms of beginning actors, low budget, and all that stuff. But he went on and felt it was, you know, yeah, thank you for letting me review the movie. Had I been a different director, I'd have punched him in his face. But that's the type of feelings that come out, you know. And I just realized, well, Dad, look at how he's reviewed other things. He's got something going on with him where he feels that it's important to say something negative about something. Today, I'm on Facebook, and probably, what do you call it, is the reason why I'm doing this video. But I wanted to name this, you know, why do black people are not monolithic, right? And I don't think anybody ever thought black people were monolithic. And when I say that is, you can put a joke up and everybody black is going to laugh. My favorite comedian was Paul Mooney and Eddie Murphy, and now Dave Chappelle is moving into the ranks. I like JB Smoove, and it was evident in my company, you know, the type of comedians that I like. Light-hearted, like Brooklyn Mike, Kevin Hart. Those was my type of dudes with a little bit of social consciences, right? Those are the comedians that I like. Does everybody like Paul Mooney? No. Does everybody like Dave Chappelle? He's at the top right now. No, right? So I saw a post where a brother said, my face while watching Wakanda Forever, realizing that I could have stayed home or could have watched this at the house, right? And he posted a picture of somebody looking like, you know, like with a bored look on their face. It wasn't his face. It was like a bored look, and it was a couple of other little meme clips where, you know, people look disenchanted. And I said, you know, on the thread, I posted, I was like, you know, I have to remind myself that black people are not monolithic, in that, you know, while also trying to remember the last white film that black people felt compelled to tell everybody that they didn't like it, you know. And I said, meanwhile, I gave it a 9.5, and I love it, right? When you watch my review video for Wakanda Forever, I'm giving it a 9.5, right? It fluctuates between 9.5, shoot, maybe in an 8.5 years later, right? But I'm telling you why I like it. It's not only because of the stories, elements of the film. That's not the only reason. The other reason is I'm a 55-year-old filmmaker. I'm a writer of black science fiction, and I make comic books. So this is a comic book movie that has science fiction elements to it, and it's black. So it hits me. I'm the target audience. I don't have a problem liking it more than somebody from Asia, somebody from India, right? Heck, even a European person. I have not one problem liking the movie better than them, right? Because I'm its target audience. It's made for me to like. Now, I might not watch any movies on Lifetime because the energy that these movies are dedicated towards are not me. So they may, you know, review very low for me. I might not even recommend them, right? But does that mean they're trash? The problem that I have with some black people is that we have something in us that rebels against us, right? A lot of people like to say it's a self-hating Negro. Yeah, maybe it is a symptoms of being a self-hating person, right? Where you feel that you have to stand out in the crowd by going against the crowd, right? Everybody likes it. I don't like it. Oh, snap. Who is this brilliant person that was able to see things that we didn't see? Holy moly, you're amazing. I thought I was the only one. Thank you for telling me. No. Even if you like something that other people like, you should still have supporting evidence and information points that give you, right? Then I say, personally, that if you do find yourself liking or disliking things that other black people like, or liking things that black people don't like, I would say go investigate that. Go do some thinking on that. We have a system or philosophy of norms. There are normal behaviors. Normal behaviors are not wrong. They exist. That's how they determine children's ability to sit still, learn. I'm a 12th grade teacher. I teach kids at a level on the 12th grade. The 12th grade is not something that God created. The 12th grade is something that we said is the norm for intellectual growth, intellectual information, academic growth. You're supposed to behave like a 12th grader. You're supposed to be as smart as other 12th graders. That's how we know there's 12th graders that are a little ahead of the pack. That's why we know that, dang, this 12th grader needs to pull it up and do better. Does it mean that they're stupid? Maybe, right? But does it mean that they can't learn? No. For whatever the reasons are, whether it's not being able to sleep at night, maybe you've had some family issues, everybody's been taken off by COVID, so COVID is another problem. So what we say is, yeah, there's a norm. There was a norm before the COVID that's now different after COVID. But what it is saying is there is a norm. And how do we get to those norms? We think of how most people behave and compare it to other people. So if you have all these black people that like a film and you got a few, or probably a small percentage that don't like it, then now you start to say, all right, it is not getting 50-50 reviews. It's getting 95, not 5, right? 90-10, right? I'll make a poll. We'll see. I do think most people like Wakanda Forever and Black Panther than people that don't. One of the persons on the thread, I believe it was a black person, said, I ain't even watched Black Panther. And you know what? I don't have no problem with that, right? But you got to qualify that, right? I got people that say, yo, I didn't watch your horror movie because guess what? I don't like horror. Now we understand. But if you're going to sit up here and say, oh, I didn't, Wakanda Forever, well, maybe you don't like superhero movies, right? Maybe that's not your thing. But I still feel it's something of a concern when a person feels compelled to put that out, to say, I'm different from everybody else. Now, mind you, I'm a comic book dude. I do comic book conventions more than I do film festivals and book fairs, right? So I'm around nerds. I even do anime festivals, right? And in both of those, you're going to run into people who, for the most part, have challenges with their blackness, right? Not all of them. Shoot, it might only be 20%, but it's 20% more than you see anywhere else. There's a whole lot of autistic children that come, but it may only be like 5%, but you'll see more there than you will see at a film festival, at a book fair, right? Because it's a lot of colorful images, it's a lot of stimulation, so they get that, right? Same thing with some of the people struggling with understanding themselves sexually. There's a strong LGBT community, and there's a questioning community that comes to comic book conventions. Why? Well, they get to cosplay, they get to masquerade and try other things out, right? Same thing with black people that don't necessarily feel black. It used to be, and there's a thing, like a lot of people call themselves nerds because they feel that they read comic books and the average Jay-Z doesn't, right? The average cool black person doesn't read comic books. Until Luke Cage came out, I actually said there was a reason why they didn't really read them. It's probably because that's the reason why I didn't read them. They weren't treated fairly in the arena. There's a reason why Blade did so well, because Wesley Snipes was our dude. He was in a bunch of black movies. He was Passenger 51 or whatever that is. He was, you know, in New Jack City, Nino Brown. And then he played a superhero. He took his black card with him. So there's a reason why a lot of black people probably wasn't in the comic books before, you know, as heavy as mainstream, because you was reading about super white people saving black people and black people that were sidekicks. So yeah, now a lot of that has changed, and now you see a lot of different black people into comic books. So I'll say all of this. Let me wrap it up. Maybe I need to get into it, but you have to understand in dealing with negative reviews that, you know, there's just some people out there that are not going to like your stuff, and sometimes they complain the loudest, really, you know. So when you're taking reviews, you're taking stuff, yeah, you may have to work harder, you know, and I'll get into that. But sometimes you don't, and sometimes, well, sometimes you always have to, right? But sometimes you have to look at the person who is negatively responding and say, yo, who's it coming from? And now I don't even know if this really works with Bradley and Keith or myself, because I think they kind of have other issues as well. As promoters, we got to promote, you know, and I'm gonna get into that. You know, I was just telling my wife this morning that, you know, majority of the film budget is supposed to be marketing and promotion, you know, but yet many people think that they can come out with a comic book and a novel and not even have a press release. So I think that's a problem. But anyway, I'll get into that later. Anyway, like, subscribe, share, and of course comment. Peace. Jeff Carroll out.